A Taxi Driver is a South Korean historical drama film based on a true story that took place during the Gwangju uprising in May 1980. The movie tells the remarkable tale of a man who unknowingly gets involved in a life-changing event that shapes the history of South Korea. The film begins by introducing Kim Man-seob, a struggling taxi driver in Seoul, South Korea. Kim is an ordinary man, living a modest life, and is known for his witty and humorous nature. He has a daughter he loves dearly, and his taxi is the only source of income. He lives a humble life and tries to make ends meet by driving his taxi through the bustling streets of Seoul. Kim is always chasing a paycheck, and one day he gets a call from a German journalist named Peter, who needs a ride to Gwangju, a city in the southwest of South Korea. Peter has come to South Korea to report on the situation in Gwangju, but he cannot find a reliable driver who is willing to make the long journey there. Kim, eager to earn some quick cash, agrees to the long trip without any idea of what's actually going on in Gwangju. The promise of extra money. Oh, he's definitely on board. As they begin their journey to Gwangju, Kim turns to Peter with his usual playful grin and says, "You pay me, I take you. Simple, right?" Peter, not understanding Kim's humor, just nods. Kim learns that Peter is a journalist who is trying to cover a story about a violent military crackdown on protesters. However, Kim remains unaware of the political significance of the events in Gwangju. He simply sees the trip as an opportunity to earn some extra cash. The trip is tense from the start. Kim's trying to make small talk with Peter, but language barriers create some awkward silences. During the long ride, Kim and Peter slowly begin to converse. Kim keeps asking Peter questions in his broken English. Peter tries to explain the situation in Gwangju, but Kim is skeptical and brushes it off as just another political issue. Kim's like, "Why go all the way there? Just to write some stories. You better be paying me double for this." But hey, he's in it for the ride, literally. Along the way, Kim can tell something is off. There's this weird vibe as they drive through the countryside, like something bigger is happening that no one's talking about. As they approach Gwangju, military trucks start showing up. Kim is used to seeing traffic jams, but military vehicles, not so much. The mood in the car shifts, and Kim finally asks, "Hey Peter, why are all the soldiers here? Is it really that bad?" At this point, he starts to realize that things might not be as calm as he thought. When Kim and Peter finally reach Gwangju, they are immediately struck by the tension in the air. The city is under martial law, and the streets are filled with soldiers and military vehicles. People seem anxious and fearful. As Kim tries to find a place to stay and wait for Peter's work to conclude, he quickly realizes that something is very wrong in the city. The people are on edge, and there are signs of unrest everywhere. Kim pulls up to a hotel and tries to figure out his next move. He's thinking, should I just drop Peter off and head back to Seoul? That seems safe, right? But Peter's got other plans, and Kim's dragged along for the ride, now as a reluctant guide. Kim's initial thoughts: Gwangju's just another political mess. He's been hearing about protests, but he thinks it's all just people shouting for no reason. "What's the worst that could happen?" Kim jokes, trying to lighten the mood. But as they head into the city center, he starts to get a glimpse of the real danger. Kim, ever the skeptic, says, "I didn't sign up for a battlefront. I just want to drive." But Peter responds seriously, "This is the front line of a fight for freedom, Kim. It's more important than you think." Kim tries to lighten the mood. "I just wanted a quiet day, but here we are playing tourist in a war zone." Peter takes Kim along to witness some of the protests, and it's then that Kim begins to understand the scale of the unrest. Gwangju is the epicenter of a large-scale student protest against the military dictatorship of General Chun Do-hwan, who came to power after a coup. The military has been cracking down violently on the protesters, and the city has effectively been placed under siege. Protesters are facing off with soldiers, and the violence is escalating fast. Kim starts noticing how everyone is scared, real scared. People are running, hiding, and some are even being dragged away by soldiers. As the situation escalates, Kim starts to witness the brutality of the military against the protesters. One scene that really stands out is when Kim's taxi is caught in the middle of a brutal clash between soldiers and protesters. Kim, panicking, exclaims, "What the heck is going on here? I thought I was just a driver." Peter calmly responds, "Sometimes being a driver means being part of the story, whether you want to be or not." Kim looks at him, eyes wide. "I don't want to be a part of this story, Peter." Kim starts to realize that the protests aren't just about students being angry. They are fighting for freedom, democracy, and the rights of the people. Despite his initial hesitation, Kim starts to feel empathy for the people of Gwangju. He witnesses the brutal actions of the soldiers who are shooting unarmed civilians and protesters without any hesitation. He sees the bloodshed, the fear, and the desperation in the eyes of the people, especially the students who are risking their lives for a better future. Kim begins to question his role in all of this. At first, he was just a bystander, but now he is part of the story. As the situation escalates, Kim is caught in the middle of the conflict. The once carefree taxi driver is now facing a moral dilemma. He feels compelled to help the protesters, but at the same time, he is afraid of getting caught up in the violence. Peter, the journalist, encourages him to help by taking him to locations where he can document the atrocities happening in Gwangju. But as they drive through the streets, they realize that the military is actively hunting down anyone who is even remotely involved with the protests. Kim is forced to make difficult choices, and he begins to risk his life to help the innocent people who are being slaughtered in the streets. Kim's transformation from a detached bystander to an active participant in the struggle is powerful. He stops thinking only of himself and begins to empathize with the people around him. He realizes that what is happening in Gwangju is more important than money, more important than his own safety. He understands that the fight for justice and freedom cannot be ignored, even if it means putting himself at risk. As the situation becomes increasingly dire, the military begins to crack down even harder. The protesters are cornered, and there is little hope left for them. Kim and Peter are forced to make a quick escape from the city. Kim must now decide whether to save himself and Peter or stay and continue to help the people of Gwangju. In a moment of selflessness, Kim chooses to help Peter escape safely, despite the danger. On their way out, they encounter a group of protesters who are trying to flee as well. Kim's taxi is blocked by soldiers, and it looks like they will be caught. Kim watches as a group of protesters faces down the military. As they are about to be shot, one protester looks at Kim and says, "Don't just watch. Do something." Kim, visibly shaken, responds, "I'm just a taxi driver. What can I do?" But the protester's words linger with him. When Peter urges him to help by transporting footage of the violence, Kim hesitates, but then says, "I didn't come here to be a hero, but someone has to do something." With that, he drives through the chaos, his sense of duty overriding his fear. "I'm just a driver, but today I drive for something bigger," he mutters. And through sheer determination and with Peter's help, Kim manages to get through the military checkpoint. The soldiers fire at them, but they narrowly escape with their lives. As they drive away from Gwangju, Kim turns to Peter and says, "I'm never doing a job like this again." Peter, still calm, says, "You don't choose the story chooses you." Kim and Peter leave Gwangju with a deep sense of sorrow and guilt. Kim knows that he may never be able to forget the faces of the people he left behind, the faces of the brave souls who sacrificed everything for their freedom. As the movie nears its conclusion, the audience learns about the aftermath of the Gwangju uprising. The military eventually retakes control of the city, However, the truth about what happened in Gwangju slowly starts to emerge, and the people who were involved in the uprising are honored for their bravery. Kim, on the other hand, returns to his normal life as a taxi driver. However, the experience has profoundly changed him. He cannot forget what he saw, and he cannot forget the people who fought and died for their freedom.